This map illustrates the territorial segmentation of India under Article 1 of the Constitution. The nation's territory is divided into 3 exact categories: the standard states, the 9 union territories highlighted here, and any territories the government might acquire in the future. The states are the baseline members of the federal system in India. They share a defined distribution of political power with the center, retaining distinct constitutional autonomy over their own administration. Union territories represent a strict constitutional departure from that system. These specific areas are held under the direct, unitary control and administration of the central government, without federal autonomy. India effectively operates 2 completely different constitutional governance models simultaneously: a shared federal structure for the vast majority of the landmass, and an absolute unitary structure for these selected enclaves. The precedent for this unitary model dates back to the British era. In 1874, colonial authorities cordoned off certain areas as scheduled districts, which gradually evolved into chief commissioners' provinces to maintain tighter central oversight. Following independence, the modern legal concept of the Union Territory was formally integrated into the Constitution by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act and the States Reorganization Act in 1956. The central government classifies the creation of these territories into 4 specific rationales. The first addresses political and administrative considerations, which required bringing sensitive capital cities, like Delhi and Chandigarh, directly under Union authority. The other 3 rationales address unique regional conditions. Territories like the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are maintained for strategic military importance. Areas like Mizoram and Tripura were originally designated as UTs to ensure the special treatment of tribal populations. Finally, some enclaves required central protection for their cultural distinctiveness, such as the preservation of French colonial heritage in Puducherry. Union territories function as specific administrative responses to unique regional conditions. By bypassing the standard statehood model, the center can directly manage security, culture, and tribal welfare without the constitutional mediation required by federalism. The legal mechanics detailing how the center controls these zones are codified in Part 8 of the Constitution, spanning Articles 239 to 241. This matrix outlines the core executive difference between the 2 systems. On the left, a state's executive head is the governor, preserving autonomy. On the right, a union territory's administrator functions strictly as an agent of the president. The president can specify their title as lieutenant governor, chief commissioner, or administrator. The system allows for highly flexible administrative overlaps. The governor of Punjab concurrently acts as the administrator of Chandigarh, while Dadra and Nagar Haveli share a single executive administrator with Daman and Diu. The defining architectural feature of Union Territory administration is deliberate constitutional non-uniformity. Avoiding a rigid, singular structure ensures these territories remain entirely subservient to the immediate administrative discretion of the president. The 9 current Union territories are structurally divided into 2 groups based on legislative power. 6 of the 9 are pure Union territories that operate entirely without local legislatures, including Andaman and Nicobar, Chandigarh, and Ladakh. For certain territories without assemblies, the president holds sweeping constitutional authority to draft regulations for peace, progress, and good government. These presidential regulations bypass normal legislative channels, but carry the exact same legal force as an act of parliament. This table isolates the 3 significant exceptions. Providing these territories with assemblies does not negate central control. Parliament explicitly retains the power to make laws on any subject across all 3 constitutional lists for these territories, even in areas usually reserved for states. The creation of a local legislature in a union territory serves to accommodate regional political aspirations through delegated power. It does not transfer sovereign rights, and the central government maintains an absolute legislative veto. Delhi requires an entirely separate framework. The 69th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1991 officially redesignated the territory as the National Capital Territory of Delhi, creating a unique constitutional subcategory. The amendment established a 70-member legislative assembly and granted it the power to legislate on matters within the state list and the concurrent list. Looking at the distribution of state powers, the Constitution applies a massive exception to Delhi. The local assembly is barred entirely from legislating on 3 exact subjects: public order, police, and land. The National Capital Territory model is a specialized framework designed to balance local democratic participation with the center's legal requirement to manage the security and infrastructure of the capital city. Central control over these territories also dictates their judicial architecture. Parliament holds the sole constitutional authority to either establish a dedicated high court for a union territory or place it under the jurisdiction of an adjacent state's court. This judicial map details the resulting legal geography. Delhi operates its own dedicated high court, a status it has held since 1966. Jammu and Kashmir shares a common high court with Ladakh. The remaining territories are legally tethered to the infrastructure of powerful adjacent states. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands report to the Calcutta High Court. Lakshadweep falls under Kerala, and Puducherry is governed by the Madras High Court. This judicial tethering prevents the smaller territories from operating as isolated legal islands. It firmly subordinates them to the broader Indian federal legal framework, thereby maintaining judicial consistency with the mainland. The exact parameters of this unitary control are concentrated in 3 key articles. Article 239 sets the baseline for executive administration. Article 239A enables the creation of local legislatures, and Article 239AAA dictates the specific constitutional carve-outs for the national capital. Under Article 239AB, the President can suspend the local government and assume direct control if the territory's constitutional machinery fails, a provision that mirrors the mechanism of President's rule used in states. To understand the polity of union territories, one must view them not as standard states, but as bespoke instruments that ensure the union government maintains supreme authority wherever specific national interests are at stake.